Hello and welcome. You're watching the news. I'm Gargi Rawat, and celebrations and cheer across the country as ISRO's Chandrayaan 3 mission makes a successful moon landing. Now everyone looking forward to the Pragyan rover emerging from the lander. All that and more coming up ahead. Let's take a look at the headlines. India's moon mission Chandrayaan 3 creates history, makes a successful soft landing near the moon's south pole. India is the fourth country to reach the moon, and from South Africa, the Prime Minister says we are witness to the new flight of New India. New history has been written. India celebrates ISRO's successful mission across the country. People cheer as Chandrayaan 3 is the first mission to land on the moon's south pole. The rover Pragyan will emerge from the Vikram lander in about another hour or so. And more good news after over 1 hour of intense competition. Indian chess prodigy Pragnananda and world #1 Magnus Carlsen decided to draw the second game of the Chess World Cup final now for day 3. The centre announces major changes in the education system. Board examinations will now take place twice a year. Students of class 11 and 12 need to study 2 languages. "22 workers are killed in Mizoram as an under-construction railway bridge collapses. 21 kilometers from the capital, rescue operations are underway. And a massive tragedy narrowly averted at the Delhi airport after 2 flights were cleared to take off from the same runway. An alert woman pilot aborted her takeoff when the planes were just 1.8 kilometers apart. India scripted history today, becoming the first nation to land the Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft on the moon's south pole. This propels India to an elite space club, one of only 4 countries to have landed on the moon. The touchdown took place at 6:04 p.m. amid huge cheers in the war room of ISRO in Bengaluru, and people across the country who'd been glued to their screens celebrated as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who joined in the event online from South Africa, where he's attending the BRICS Summit, said this moment is precious and unprecedented. Now the next step will be when the rover Pragyan will roll out, but this is in another hour or so when the dust has dispersed. So let's take a look now at what the Prime Minister said as well as the ISRO chief.
India is now on the moon. Friends, on this joyous occasion, I would like to address all the people of the world, the people of every country and region. India's successful moon mission is not just India's alone. Our approach of one Earth, one family, one future is resonating across the globe. This human-centric approach that we present and that we represent has been welcomed universally. Our moon mission is also based on the same human-centric approach. We can all aspire for the moon and beyond. मेरे परिवारजनों, चंद्रयान महाअभियान के ये उपलब्धि भारत की उड़ान को चंद्रमा की कक्षाओं से आगे जाएगी.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Honorable Prime Minister called me and conveyed his greetings to each one of you and your family for the wonderful work you did in ISRO. Thanks are to him for the support that he is giving to us for missions like Chandrayaan 3 and the missions that are in the offing. I want to tell you, and I want to thank you also for each and everyone who prayed with us in the last many days, who wanted this success to happen in ISRO. I thank all those people in all around the country and maybe beyond the country for their blessings and wishes and affection that he has given to each one of us for doing this work for the last so many years.
Well, let's go across to Vishnu now for more. And Vishnu, a massive achievement for the country, for ISRO. It's still just sinking in just how big this is. And as the Prime Minister said, history has been made. But tell us now what happens. What are we looking forward to the next step as the Pragyaan rover emerges?
Well, the Pragyaan rover is going to emerge from the belly of the Vikram lander, which successfully soft landed on the surface of the moon at 6:04 p.m. today. We don't know the exact time when Pragyaan comes out, but some reports suggest that at about 9:30 or so. Why the delay? Because there is the moon dust which needs to settle. The Pragyaan rover will then roll out. But I think the big aspect of today's mission, more than the rover, which will really be the icing on the cake, was the soft landing. Traveling at thousands of kilometers per hour, both vertically and horizontally, an effort was made by correctly firing the rockets on the lander to ensure that it touched down smoothly and that the speed of the lander at the moment it touched down was almost close to zero. So well within the design parameters. Very few countries have been able to master this technology to soft land a craft on a planet, or in this case on the moon. Remember, there have been several countries which have failed in trying to get to the moon. India is the first to land on the southern pole region of the moon. Just a couple of days back, the Russians were attempting with their Luna 25 probe. That didn't work out at all for them. That crashed into the surface of the moon. So an incredible success, and the mission, and we were watching it very closely from the beginning to the end, from the blast off to the moment that Vikram touched down, was exactly on the mark. We are following the telemetry and the data at the mission control, and it was perfectly aligned to where we wanted Vikram to land.
Right, and Vishnu, this is, it means so much also going forward in terms of the economy, for space, for technology. There are around 140 space startups also in the country. So a huge beginning, and, people will be looking towards India more for this sort of technology.
Well, India already has world-class satellites. We've got world-class launch vehicles, which are smaller rockets. India in the future will be looking to develop larger rockets so that, for example, a future moon mission will see an Indian rocket fly directly to the moon. In the case of Chandrayaan, we had to get the rocket up to release the Chandrayaan payload, which then orbited the Earth first and was then slingshotted across to the moon, where it picked up the gravity of the moon before commencing its descent. So India will look for bigger rockets for starters. There's already been an announcement by one of the ISRO leaders that in the future we might attempt a mission to Venus. There might be a mission to Mars, perhaps even a lander to Mars. Now those are incrementally much more difficult. But in space, Gargi, it's very much a crawl, walk, run philosophy. At this stage today, India is quite clearly running.
All right. Thanks so much, Vishnu, for joining us there. And since the morning, people across the country have been waiting in anticipation. As we said, they were glued to their screens. There were prayers, there were parties. School children gathered together in planetariums and schools to watch the final moments. And NDTV's reporters were there. They bring you those reactions.
में क्या है 23वें तीर्थंकर हमारे पार्श्वनाथ भगवान का मोक्ष कल्याण की वजह से चंद्रयान आज सफल हुआ, और मैं इसरो को धन्यवाद देता हूं, इन्होंने सफल तक आज इसका लैंडिंग करवाया है। इसलिए पार्श्वनाथ भगवान की जय, इसरो जिंदाबाद।
Very successful, like India had made history for the first time. No other country had made it. So I'm very successful and can't express my feelings. So I'm very excited.
The experience, my heart was beating like crazy. Like eventually when it was landing, it was like such a moment for me, and I feel very proud to be an Indian at this moment.
यूं ही चल रहा है, कितनी हसीन है ये दुनिया, यूं चले सा मेले देख फूलों के मेले, बड़ी रंगीन है ये दुनिया.
And India's Chandrayaan 3 satellite has been in the making for 4 years, and many teams worked even as the country faced the COVID pandemic. ISRO chairman S Somnath says almost 1,000 engineers and scientists would have worked in getting this nearly 700 crore mission up and running. At ISRO, gender makes no difference, only talent counts. NDTV's Pallav Bagla handpicked some of those who made a critical difference in the making of Chandrayaan 3.
3, 2, 1, 0.
India's moon stars,
some
some of the faces who contributed to the Chandrayaan 3 mission.
ISRO scientists
Sri S Somnath, Chairman, Indian Space Research Organization, Bengaluru, an aerospace engineer who helped in the design of the rocket, the launch vehicle Mark III or the Bahubali rocket that lifted Chandrayaan 3 into orbit. An alumnus from the prestigious Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. Incidentally, he can speak Sanskrit and has acted in a Sanskrit film titled Jnanam. His name, Somnath, means Lord of the Moon. Dr. Unnikrishnan Nair S., Director, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Thiruvananthapuram. He heads India's key facility for research on rocketry. He is an aerospace engineer who is spearheading India's effort to send an astronaut into space. An alumnus from the prestigious Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, he was the first director of the Human Space Flight Center. Shri Veramuthuvel P., Project Director, Chandrayaan 3 Mission, UR Rao Satellite Center, Bengaluru. Being the Project Director for Chandrayaan 3 Mission, for the last 4 years he has lived a life that revolves around this third lunar outing by India. Kalpana K., Deputy Project Director, Chandrayaan 3 Mission, UR Rao Satellite Center, Bengaluru. The smiling face that kept the largest Chandrayaan 3 team working despite the hardships of the COVID-19 pandemic. Her leadership brings to the fore the Nari Shakti that ISRO has nurtured. Ms. M. Vanita, Deputy Director, UR Rao Satellite Center, Bengaluru. A soft-spoken, understated leader who was Project Director for the Chandrayaan 2 mission. An electronics and systems engineer, she became the first woman in India to lead a lunar mission. Shri M. Sankaran, Director, UR Rao Satellite Center, Bengaluru. Considered the powerhouse of ISRO, since his expertise lies in making novel power systems and solar arrays that go on to power satellites. It was his job to make sure the Chandrayaan 3 satellite was adequately hot and cold tested. Dr. V. Narayanan, Director, Liquid Propulsion System Center, Thiruvananthapuram. A specialist on liquid propulsion engines, the Vikram lander will attempt the soft landing on the thrusters developed under his leadership. Shri B.N. Ramakrishna, Director, ISRO Telemetry, Tracking and Command Network, Bengaluru. The Chandrayaan 3 satellite is literally dancing around the moon thanks to the command sent by his institution. The final 20 minutes of terror will be witnessed from a flying saucer-shaped building at ISTRAC. End of the day, it is all about teamwork. And ISRO certainly exemplifies how excellent talent has been nurtured over decades and is paying rich dividends. In New Delhi, Pallav Bagla for NDTV.
And 3 scientists from Madhya Pradesh helmed each of the crucial moon missions of India's space program, including Chandrayaan 3. The 3 scientists have starring roles: Mahendra Thakre, Priyanshu Mishra and Om Pandey. Here's a report.
Soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
हमने धरती पर संकल्प लिया और चांद पर उसे साकार किया.
In the vast expanse of the cosmos, humankind's insatiable curiosity continues to push the boundaries of exploration. 3 scientists from Madhya Pradesh helmed each of the crucial moon missions of India's space program, including Chandrayaan 3, which carries the dreams and aspirations of an entire nation. Mahendra Thakre, scientist from Naxal-affected Balaghat, is the project manager of Chandrayaan 3. He has over 30 years of experience in the space sector and has worked on several other missions, including Chandrayaan 1 and Mangalyaan.
अभी वो चंद्रयान के मिशन के इसमें जो रॉकेट लॉन्चिंग में टीम मैनेजर के हैसियत से वहाँ उपलब्ध रहे वो, और इसलिए हम बहुत गौरवान्वित हैं अपने पुत्र के लिए।
वो गए ऊपर तक के, हमारा भी नाम रोशन हो गया है गांव का, उसके बाद में हमारे जिले का, हमारे अब क्या बोलूँ मैं उनके प्रति, यानी कि हमारे देश का नाम रोशन किया है।
Priyanshu Mishra is from a small village in tribal-dominated Umaria district. An MTech from Ranchi, he has been working at ISRO since 2009. Om Pandey, a young scientist from Satna, is a part of the team that is monitoring the Chandrayaan's orbit and trajectory. He is also involved in the process of landing the lander on the moon. He studied electrical engineering at IIT Kanpur and then joined ISRO as a scientist in 2018.
हमारे परिवार से ओम पांडे हमारा छोटा भाई है। हमको बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, पूरे परिवार को और पूरे गांव के लिए गर्वान्वित महसूस हो रहे हैं।
हमेशा बात करता है, हमेशा मेरे पास खुशी है
जी,
प्रतिदिन वो बात करता है
जी।
मम्मी पापा का बहुत बड़ा खुश है, वो बहुत भक्त है, कि माने हर समय बात करे, कोई परेशानी नहीं होने देता है हम लोगों को।
उनको देख के और बच्चे बोल रहे हैं कि क्या अभी किस फील्ड में हमें जाना चाहिए, इस फील्ड में क्या क्या होता है, मतलब वो पूछते हैं, इंटरेस्ट लेते हैं, क्योंकि उनके खुद के घर में स्पेस का है, मतलब तो सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करते हैं, उनको खुशी होती है। चाचा जी हैं हमारे और मतलब बहुत सारे लोग पूछते हैं, तो वो भी उस लाइन में जाना चाहते हैं। मेरी दीदी की बेटियां भी पूछती हैं हमें भी उस लाइन में जाना है, इसरो में कैसे जाते हैं।
In the quest for knowledge and exploration, 3 sons from Madhya Pradesh stands as a shining example of what humanity can achieve when fueled by passion and driven by dreams. In Bhopal, with camera person Rizwan Khan, Gyan Shukla, Rupesh and Sanjeev Chaudhary, Anurag Dwari for NDTV.
In other news and big news for students and parents across the country, the centre has announced major changes in the education system in line with the new education policy. The Ministry of Education has said that board exams will be conducted twice a year, with students allowed to retain best score. It also said that students of class 11 and 12 need to study 2 languages and that at least one of those 2 languages must be an Indian language. According to the ministry, in order to make the board exams easier than the current high-stakes practice, the examination will assess the understanding and achievements of competencies rather than months of coaching and memorizing. Also, the choice of subjects in class 11 and 12 will not be restricted to streams like they are right now as arts, science and commerce, to give students more flexibility to choose, so they will be allowed to choose subjects across streams. Tragic news from Mizoram. At least 22 workers were killed today as an under-construction railway bridge collapsed. The government sources say they fear that the death toll could go up. The rescue work was still underway. The accident took place nearly 21 kilometers away from capital Aizawl.
This railway bridge being built over the Kurung River connecting Bairabi in Assam to Sairang near Aizawl in Mizoram collapsed this morning, killing many construction workers. An engineering marvel built on very rough terrain, the bridge was part of the Northeast Frontier Railway's 51.38 kilometers railway project between Bairabi and Sairang. NDRF and Railways engineers and rescue teams along with state government agencies are carrying out search and rescue operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tweeted an ex gratia of Rs 2 lakh from Prime Minister's National Relief Fund to the next of kin of each deceased and Rs 50,000 for those injured. Sources say most of the workers were migrants from West Bengal.
আমরা ইতিমধ্যে ডেড বডি আনার ব্যবস্থা করেছি ডেড বডি রেলে করে আসছে, মালদায় পৌঁছবে। আমরা পরিবারগুলোর সাথে যোগাযোগ রাখছি এবং আমরা পরিবারগুলোকে সাহায্য নিশ্চয়ই করব। সাথে সাথে আমি রেলের কাছে দাবি করব, রেলের কাজ করতে গিয়ে যদি কেউ মারা যায়, একটা রেলের চাকরি সেই পরিবারকে আপনাদের দিতে হবে, তার কারণ তারা আপনাদের জন্য কাজ করতে গেছে।
The project was to be finished in December, but this accident will now be a setback. With inputs from Dalijia Fanai in Azol and Ratndeep Chaudhary in Guwahati, Usama Shah for NDTV.
At the BRICS summit in South Africa, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the leaders' retreat along with his counterparts from China, South Africa and Brazil. Remember, from Russia, Putin is attending via video link. Now, according to reports, India took the lead in forging consensus on the selection of new members in the five-nation grouping of BRICS. That has been a talking point that more members could be included. There are at least 40 countries that want to be included in this grouping. Now, in his address at the summit in Johannesburg, Prime Minister said India is according highest priority to the issues of countries of the Global South under its G20 presidency, and said he hoped that India's proposal to accord permanent membership of the G20 to the African Union will be supported by all the BRICS nations. Tragedy was narrowly averted at Delhi airport this afternoon after a Vistara flight from Ahmedabad and another plane of the same airline, the two carrying around 300 people in total, and this was thanks to an alert pilot on the former plane. The Ahmedabad-Delhi flight had just landed and had been instructed by the air traffic control to cross an active runway to reach the parking bay. Meanwhile, a Vistara Airlines Delhi-Bagdogra flight had been given permission to take off on the same runway, and a collision was only avoided thanks to Captain Sonu Gill on the Ahmedabad-Delhi flight. The planes were 1.8 kilometers or 1,800 meters apart, sources say, stressing that if the pilot had not warned the ATC of the presence of the other plane, the outcome could have been disastrous. That takeoff was aborted, and according to reports, the DGCA has derostered the ATC official responsible for the runway incursion event. The Indian economy may have grown by 8.3% in the April-June quarter, according to the State Bank of India's research Eco-Rap. This is significantly higher compared to the RBI's estimate of 7.8%. Growth for the full year ending March 2024 is also seen exceedingly the 6.5% forecast by the Reserve Bank of India. And ISRO has just tweeted some images of the moon, and it said the communication link has been established between the lander and the headquarters in Bengaluru. And here are images from the lander horizontal velocity camera taken during the descent. So this is during the descent of the Vikram lander. The Vikram lander is now near the south pole of the moon, and in some time from now, we don't know exactly how long, but the Chandrayaan rover will soon emerge from the Vikram lander once the moon dust has settled.